government has brought embarrassment to the people of this country, within the shores of this country, and throughout the world. But they are very desperate. They know that they have not delivered to the people. And they want to win. They want to win at the next elections. They want to win. They want to win. And therefore, because they cannot come to you and say to you what they have done for you, they are coming to you with lies. They are coming to you with propaganda. They are coming to fool you, my friends. Okay? Now, let me say to you one thing. This government, in order to win these elections, has hired a foreign consultant to teach them how to lie, to teach them how to bluff you, to allow them or try to allow them to win the next elections through lies and propaganda. That consultant, my friends, their objective is what we refer to as mind bending. They will try to twist your minds to make you to believe what is black is white and what is white is black.
And when you love something, when you cherish something, you do all that is necessary to take care of it. Our country is calling out and crying out for help. Our country has been neglected. Our country has been raped. Our needs have been ignored. Our reputation has gone down the drain. Our children feel hopeless. Our families are breaking down every single day. Our children are growing up without any morals. The values that we once knew are now out the window. Our government is not a source of inspiration for the children. Our government has not provided any new schools or educational opportunities for our children. Instead, when opportunities arise, they first try to deny them. And when we raise our voices, they pretend that they had been considering all the time.
On November 28th, we, the Saint Lucia Labour Party, standing for good governance, are going to march to the polls and we are going to vote them out. Comrades, it is a serious responsibility that we have. But like I tell you, when I think about it, when I wake up every morning and I think that tomorrow will be 11 days, and the day after will be 10 more days, and as we count down to November 28th, I know that things will be better in Saint Lucia because we have seen the destruction of our poor people, the destruction of our society after 5 years, and we, Saint Lucians, are fed up. Saint Lucians, comrades, when you look around at what passes for governance in this country these days, it's an utter shame. Brother Stanley spoke to you and said, mention our Nobel laureates and mention how far Saint Lucia has come. I can tell you how far Saint Lucia had gone with the Labour Party. I can tell you, having traveled to the other islands, how much respect and regard was had, especially for our own candidate, Brother Pierre, Brother Philip J Pierre. I can tell you the high regard that St. Lucia was held when we moved away from agriculture in the turn of the century and we left all these other islands behind. St. Vincent, Grenada, Dominica, these islands looked up to us. These economies, these islands are still struggling with agriculture, and because of the mindset of the Labour Party, and in particular our brother Philip J Pierre, tourism had taken St. Lucia so much further. Investment was ripe in St. Lucia. Economic activity, and you know what? Everybody was benefiting. Every one of us, comrades, was benefiting under the Saint Lucia Labour Party. But what happened next? We had a bunch of individuals come in here and take office, and they made their promises. They had a manifesto, and St. Lucians bought into it. But we assessed their performance 5 years later, and it is clear that none of these promises, that there was never any intention of living up to any of these promises. Comrades, they want to pass the failure of our economy, our lack of jobs, and the slow economy. They want to pass it on events like Thomas and recession and global recession and so on. I'll tell you something about this global recession. This recession that the world is facing is no excuse for economies like ours. And people like Brother Philip Pierre, who know economic policy, will tell you that our economies can actually thrive by the loss that the bigger countries are facing with the global crisis. Because the bigger countries, their dollar is worth more over here. Their dollar is worth more in EC currency. So those who have the monies to invest and they are facing financial difficulties where they are coming from would find it a beauty to invest their dollars, their foreign currency, in smaller states like ours.
But this government of the United Workers' Party has failed miserably. Let them tell you one of the 26 things that they achieved in the last 5 years. Their manifesto. Any government, its manifesto is what tells you what it plans to achieve for the people of this country. The United Workers' Party presented 26 points in its manifesto. Half of one of them was achieved, and the Saint Lucia Labour Party and others gave it an F grade. But Robert Lewis is not giving them an F grade. You are getting a grade U. Those who know the old GC exams, when you could not get an F grade, you got a U grade, which means your work was so bad it could not be graded. A U grade and ungraded. And where is Mr. Guy Mayers telling me that this government wants to return to power? Brothers and sisters, a government is supposed to work for the people of the country, not taking the people for granted. This United Workers' Party has failed miserably. It's the worst government in the history of St. Lucia.
No!
Do you want your children to use Richard Frederick as a role model for them?
Oh no!
You want your children to use Rufus Busque?
Criminal!
People of Entrepot, I know what you stand for. People who are proud, who have sent their children to educate themselves, prepare themselves for leadership. That's what we do to our young people. We prepare ourselves for leadership. Mr. King and his government has failed. You know, Guy must be very careful, because I used to pull him out as one of many, because he served with me as president when I was vice principal at St. Mary's College, and I thought he had some decency, because when I met him May 7th, I think they're about 2007, he told me, Robert, if I knew these men were so bad, I would have never run with them. You know why he said that? Because of the horror John Compton faced in that cabinet, whatever then Busque and them did to John Compton in May 2007. But Guy Mayers has kept his mouth shut, because you tell me, you show me your friends, and I will tell you who you are.
Amen. I disagree.
Brothers and sisters, Philip J Pierre has served Castries with dignity. Diplomatic visa is not the same as a visitor's visa. A diplomatic visa is the privilege given to a government official. Tonight, Robert Lewis holds a diplomatic visa. You know why I hold it? Not because I'm Robert Lewis, but because Robert Lewis represents the people of Castries South. And therefore, he becomes a government official. Richard Frederick must read to us what the Americans told him when they revoked that visa. You cannot let Richard Frederick and Stevenson King get away from this. This is a serious issue. It's an indictment on our country. And people who are educated in this country, people who have a sense of reasoning, must tell King, forget about Richard Frederick, because Richard Frederick is a stain on this country.
There is a need for the government to foster ties with nations, to provide scholarships to the young people. I say to you that the Saint Lucia Labour Party understands the vision for the young people. We must realize that it's not only the government to provide jobs to us. We, the people, create jobs for ourselves. And if our governments work for us and helps to build our capacity, then we will be able to do so. I say to you, the Saint Lucia Labour Party has gotten it. The Saint Lucia Labour Party understands the importance of building the human development of this country. The current government does not have a plan for sustainable growth in this country. We need a government that cares about providing jobs to us, not only around elections time, but on a long-term basis. We need a government that cares about our development. Dr. Kenny Anthony and the Saint Lucia Labour Party understands development.
All pirates, yes, they rob I, sold I to the merchant ships. Minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit, but my hand was made strong by the hand of the Almighty.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Good evening to the residents of Entrepot, Independent City, and I think they can hear us as far as Shabbat. Tonight, I will not be long because I know it's 11 o'clock and people need to go to sleep and they want their peace restored. But I want to share just a few thoughts with you in Entrepot. First of all, I want to tell you that in my role as parliamentary representative, I am limited. I am limited in a way that people may not understand. When the budget of St. Lucia is read by the Prime Minister, I hear the budget at the same time that every member of the public hears the budget. The only difference is I'm seated in the parliament and you are at your homes watching your television or listening to your radio. I have never been called as parliamentary representative by any minister of government to ask what are my dreams, what are my aspirations for Castries East or by extension for St. Lucia. I have written the government of St. Lucia and I heard, but this election or this night is not to speak about Guy Myers. This is not to speak about Myers. But sometimes you have to say what people say. Guy Myers said in Toulouse that I cannot show any letter that I wrote the government of St. Lucia on behalf of the people of Entrepot. A few years ago, when that road across there was in a deplorable condition, the Mountain Spring, the residents signed a petition and I sent that petition to the Minister of Communications and Roads. I have written more than 12 letters to Guy Joseph about the road to the Hess School, about the road, you say you can't read it. And I get a standard response. Dear Honorable Pierre, I acknowledge receipt of your letter. It shall be passed to the Chief Engineer for further handling. Thank you. Yours truly, Guy Joseph, Minister. That is the standard response
that I get for letters that I write the Minister for Communication works. And if Guy Myers has a conscience, he should never lie like that in public. But as I said, this night is not about Guy Myers. It's about my dreams and my aspirations for the people of Saint Lucia, and particularly the people of Castries. You hear all the time that we are living in hard economic times, that things are bad everywhere and the government can do nothing. But when things are bad, the people react. And they tell you about Greece, and they tell you about Italy, they tell you about the United States. But in all these countries, the people have taken action. The people got rid of the Prime Minister of Italy because they said he could not handle the crisis. The people got rid of the President of Greece because they said he couldn't handle the crisis. The people got rid of the Prime Minister of England because they said he could not handle the crisis. And now President Obama is under pressure because they say he cannot handle the crisis. So governance is not about excuses. Government is not about blaming people. Government is about implementing policy and plans to help you survive the crisis. And if the government of Saint Lucia cannot handle the crisis, the government of Saint Lucia must leave and let somebody else handle the crisis. So the excuse of hard economic times is not an excuse. During hard economic times, you must put your shoulders to the wheel. You must have the vision to implement policy to assist the people of the country. Your priorities must be right. The problem in the government of Saint Lucia is a problem of priorities. The government doesn't know what to do and at what time to do it. And I'll give you an example. The government of Saint Lucia has spent nearly $100 million on an old building next to Glass Motors in Bois de Wange, the Dyer building. No economic times can cause the government to take that decision. If the government had its priorities right, if the government fully understood the concept of opportunity cost, the government would have known that that money could have been used to do something better for the people of Saint Lucia. So it's not a matter of hard economic times, it's a matter of management. It's a matter of knowing what to do and how to do it. It's a matter of skill. It's a matter of having vision and foresight. And I want to say to you, this government is only interested in staying in power. This government will do everything to stay in power. And what they tell you, they have survived. You don't want a government that has survived. You want a government that has produced. That's what you want, a government that has produced. You will find it more difficult to make ends meet because the cost of things are going up and there is no relief. You have to send your children to school. You have to pay CXC. You want to give your children a better education and you cannot find ways and means to make ends meet. What this party is about, what our policies are about, is how we will make you, will help you, we will help you to make ends meet. How we will help you to have a vision for the future. How the young people who go to school, the young people who get educated, when they come out of school, they will have an environment where they can get a job and they can produce and make themselves men and women to live in a Saint Lucia that is prosperous. This is what this election is about. This election is not about row. This election is not about who do this and who do that. This election is not about Philip J Pierre. This election is not about Kenny Anthony. This election is about every man and woman who lives in Saint Lucia and wants to have a better future for themselves in Saint Lucia. Young people in Saint Lucia, as soon as they go away to study, what they say to you, starting from my daughter, I don't want to come back to Saint Lucia any longer. Why? Why do we have to lose all our best brains? Why do the young people, why can they have the confidence to want to return to Saint Lucia, to aspire, to work, to develop Saint Lucia? You know why? Because they cannot come back to a country of meritocracy. They cannot come back to a country where you will be able to survive, you'll be able to produce, you'll be able to work. And our party has a plan. Our party
Party has a plan. 4% growth in your pockets. Have you felt 4.4% growth in your salaries or in your income?
No.
Has the 4.4% growth given you more confidence? If you are a young person and you've just left university or you've just left A-level, has the 4.4% growth manifested itself in you getting a job when you leave school? My sisters and my brothers, that 4.4% growth is an illusion. You cannot feed it. Your roads are not fixed. Your hospitals are not fixed. You can't get basic facilities, and you have a government that believes in flashing mirrors, that believe in bluff, that believes in mama guy, and that believes that the only way they can win elections is if they